Hello and welcome back, Coffee Beans. This is agricultural machinery. Definition of terms. D. Damper. A sliding door that controls the gas and airflow in a stove. Danger zone. Any place at or near the point of operation where an employee may be caught by or between the moving parts of the machine or between the material and the moving part of the machine. Dead center. Either of the two positions when the crank and connecting rod are in a straight line at the end of the stroke. Dead furrow. Open trench, about twice the width of one plow bottom, left in between the adjacent strips of land after finishing plowing. Dead furrow. Empty furrow left when plowing. Dealer. Those who carry several items and brands from varying sources and are not usually engaged in manufacture and fabrication of agricultural machines. Dedendum. Radial distance between the dedendum circle and the pitch circle. Dedendum circle. Line of intersection of the dedendum cylinder by a plane perpendicular to the axis of the gear. Dedendum diameter. Diameter of the dedendum circle. Deep tillage. Primary tillage operation which manipulates soil to a greater depth than 300 millimeters. Deflector nozzle. Flood nozzle. Flooding nozzle. An atomizer in which a liquid jet spreads out over a deflector, forming a spray with a shape depending upon the deflector. Deformed bar. Steel bar with lugs or protrusions called deformation. Deoxidation. Removal of oxygen which causes oxidation of steel. Depreciation. Decrease in value of machine due to the wear and tear or obsolescence. A procedure for allocating the used-up value of durable assets over the period during which they are owned by the business. Depreciation cost is the cost outlay of the firm for the wear and tear of machines, buildings, and implements. It is a part of the total fixed cost of the business. Depression is an economic state which is characterized by sickening business. Depth band. An opening centered or wheel-like circular form which is concentrically attached to a rotating circular soil-penetrating cedar component to limit the depth of penetration. Diamonding. A form of warp in which the cross-section assumes a diamond shape. Diesel engine. A prime mover actuated by the gases resulting from the combustion of a liquid or pulverized fuel, injected in a fine state of subdivision into the engine cylinder at or about the conclusion of the compression stroke. Differential. A special arrangement of gears so that it will permit one driving member to rotate slower or faster than the other and permit operation of driving wheel at different speed for easy turn. Differential locks. Any manually operated device fitted to a machine to lock the differential gear shall be designed and fitted so that there is clear indication to the operator that the lock is engaged. Differential shrinkage. Difference in shrinkage between the radial and tangential direction. Diffuser pump or turbine pump. Type of centrifugal pump wherein the impeller is surrounded by diffuser vanes. Digging tools are devices used to turn up, loosen or remove earth. Diluent. A gas, liquid, or solid used to reduce the concentration of active ingredient in a formulation or to reduce the concentration of a formulation for application. Dipper dredge. Excavating machine using a boom-type shovel. Dipstick. A device to measure the quantity of fuel in the reservoir. Disc harrow. Implement used to pulverize the soil and put it in a better tilth for the reception of the seed. Disc plough. Implement with individually mounted concave disc blades which cut, partially or completely invert a layer of soil to bury surface material, and pulverize the soil. Disc type. Type of shelling unit consisting of a vertical disc with spiked surface. Disc is a tractor-drawn implement composed of circular plates arranged at an angle with the soil, used to prepare the soil for seeding. Disc cutter. A multiple disc cutter device, using two or more blades per disc, driven about vertical axes from above at sufficiently high rotational speeds to achieve impact cutting. Disc harrow. A primary or secondary tillage implement consisting of 2 or 4 gangs of concave discs. Adjustment of gang angle controls cutting aggressiveness. Disc plough. A primary tillage implement with individually mounted concave disc blades which cut, partially or completely invert a layer of soil to bury surface material, and pulverize the soil. Blades are attached to the frame in a tilted position relative to the frame and to the direction of travel for proper penetration and soil displacement. Implement with individually mounted concave disc blades which cut, partially or completely invert layer of soil to bury surface material, and pulverize the soil. Disc spacing. Transverse distance between two adjacent disc edges. Dispersion agent. Non-toxic chemicals that help break up agglomerates. Displacement. In a single acting engine, the volume swept by all pistons in making one stroke each. The displacement on one cylinder in cubic inches is the circular area, in square inches, times the stroke, in inches. Distributor. A device for dividing the flow of fluids between parallel paths. Double action disc harrow or tandem disc harrow. Consists of 2 or more disc gangs, follows behind the front gangs and is arranged in such a way that the discs on the front gangs throw the soil in one direction, usually outward, and the disc on the rear gangs throw the soil in the opposite direction. Double covering discs. 2 opposing disc blades positioned evenly are staggered on each side of the seeded furrow. Downdraft, air that flows down the chimney and into the room. Draft, an air current in a stove. Draft, the force to propel an implement in the direction of travel which is equal and opposite to drawbar pull. Drag auger, a device which is screw-type flighting in contact with material. Pivotally attached to the auger intake when rotated. Drag auger handle, portion of drag auger assembly used to control position if drag auger. Drag wafer or tube feed handling system. A combination of equipment for distributing feed using uniformly spaced wafers pulled by a cable. Drawbar, bar at the rear of a tractor to which implements are hitched. Drawbar extender, an add-on bar or similar means attached to a tractor drawbar to lengthen the distance from end of PTO to hitch pinhole beyond the standard dimension. Drawbar power, power available at the drawbar sustainable over a distance of at least 20 meters. Drawdown, the elevation of the static water level in a well minus the elevation of the pumping water level, at the well, at a given discharge. Drift, the movement of chemicals outside the intended target area by air mass transport or diffusion. Drill, a farm implement for planting seeds which forms a small furrow. Deposits the seed in dribbles. Covers the seed, and packs soil over it. It can also deposit fertilizer, lime, or other amendments into the soil, alone or with the seed. Drill bit, bit attached to the end of the drilling pipe which is directly in contact with the soil formation and serves as cutting device during drilling operation. Drill or drill press, a machine tool used mainly for producing holes in metal. Drive shaft, shaft that transmits power between the power source and the final drive. Drive shaft bearing support, drive shaft bearing holder. Driveline clearance plane, the imaginary, horizontal plane which establishes the uppermost permissible limit of perfusion of the drawbar hitch assembly or any component thereof. When the tractor and implement are on a common horizontal plane. Driving tools, are tools used to move other tools or objects. They rely on their weight and speed to provide force to move an object, i.e. hammers and punches. Drop tube, a conduit, plastic, metal, or rubber, that directs granules flow of granular applicator from the metering device to the target. Drum cutter, a multiple drum device, using 2 or more blades per drum. Driven about vertical axes from above sufficiently high rotational speeds to achieve impact cutting. Dry bearing, a bearing that operate without significant fluid film to separate the moving surfaces, bearing using low friction materials or materials impregnated with lubricant. Dual-angled press wheels, 2 semi-pneumatic or steel wheels which are typically positioned at angles less than 30 degrees from vertical toward the opposing wheel at the bottom. Dual secondary residue disc, opposing sharpened flat or concave circular discs blades, positioned on each side of a coulter. The disc blades are in line with the direction of travel and adjusted to either hold or cut surface residue on each side of the row area while the coulter cuts residue directly over the row. Typical disc blade thickness is 3 to 10 mm or 1/8 to 3/8 of an inch. Typical disc blade diameter is 200 to 300 mm or 7.8 to 11.8 inches. Dual wide press wheels, 2 wide, vertical wheels usually steel, on a common axle which are spaced to straddle the seated furrow. Dynamic tillage tools. Tillage tools which are powered so that some of their movements are in the direction other than along the line of travel. Dynamometer, a device for absorbing the power output of an engine and measuring torque or horsepower so that it can be computed into brake horsepower. Hope it helps. Thank you again for listening. Please like, subscribe and comment your suggestion on topics you want to hear. Links of previous topics are stated in the description box below. See you in the next part. Bye. Rar.